it's a process, and just trusting it. And sometimes it's not like really in the moment. There's more that's happening underneath.
Healing doesn't happen when you force it, but when you actually feel safe enough in your body.
And once I'm able to help that person feel really safe, their body will naturally give me the lock and the key to start playing in the field.
People are like, how could you possibly use a photograph of me and have a healing happen? Energy's energy. This is quantum physics. It doesn't need to be a physical in-person experience.
Your body keeps a score while your mind moves on. Releasing trapped emotions and balances does not require you to relive it. The body can let go without replaying the tape.
I always feel like I'm getting a healing session after each one, even if it's draining. Like I feel like, okay, something just healed from the collective. As I am healed, I am not healed alone.
It did turn into something else for me. It did turn into community.
The community, the friendships, tapping into different healing modalities.
We have grown in ways that we didn't even imagine were possible. Frank kind of took us from the inside and worked out.
Okay, so everybody welcome. And this is a different format from usual. Clearly you can see I'm joined by 5 beautiful people today. And it's a little different from the normal podcast format because as you may or may not know, I do have an online course and community called Awaken the Healer Within, and that's how we all got together. You know, it's only been about 5 or 6 months since we started the course, and already seeing the growth that some people are making made me want to invite a few people on and see if we can share a little bit more about the work that you do, the brands that you're building. And everybody here is so unique, from Robin, who works with the energetics of the body, started out as a chiropractor, but has since evolved into so many different modalities. Victoria as well, an expert in sound baths and sound healing. Neil Aaron, which works with a really unique Balinese energy healing called Shiva Merti, which you'll explain a little bit about that. And Archana, you are so amazing. I love watching your content about the somatic releases that people have during the facials that you give, and the lymphatic massages and the different things that you'll tell us all about. And of course, Paul and I, we met at a retreat that I was speaking and teaching at years ago. So it's so awesome to see you go from your world of piloting and medical field to now tapping into energy work. So everybody welcome. I know I have you all on mute, but maybe we'll start with one person at a time and just kind of see where the conversation takes us. So Robin, why don't we start with you? Tell me a little bit about the work that you do.
Yeah, Frank, it's been a long journey that it has brought me to where I am now. I've got a very strong background in neurology, in functional neurology, and obviously chiropractic. And because of my journey of unfolding and really turning my suffering into my superpower, I discovered all these parts of me that, you know, just deeply intuitive and deeply able to read energy in the body, which is, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years as a chiropractor. So yeah, fast forward, now I certainly meet people where they're at. I guide them with somatic-based neuro repatterning exercises. If there's, that energetic invitation or that conversation, then I start to get into the energetic field, primarily through a relatively new modality called spinal energetics, which is about merging science, trauma-informed spine, and the science with the Eastern modalities. And that's been just such a huge game changer, not just for myself, but for my clients. So, we start playing off the body and in the field. And it's like a dance between the two of us, the facilitator and the person receiving. And once I'm able to help that person feel really safe in their body will naturally give me the lock and the key to start playing in the field. Mm-hmm. And that's when, if you've seen anything online, it can look pretty wild as the body starts to release naturally, which could be through movement, could be through tears, through, voice, all sorts of things.
It's really interesting because in my first season of the podcast, I had a friend on. His name is John Amaral, and he works with the biggest people in the industry, and he does a very similar thing, right? Where he'll wave his hand over people and their body just starts to spontaneously move. I never knew what it was called, but I knew it was a modality. And that what's interesting too is that with him, I've seen it develop and become his own thing. So I started to even see him go away from like the traditional way things were practiced. And it's very similar to with what I did, where I first started studying a modality and learning emotion code and body code. And then I worked with healers in Mexico who taught me how to use magnets. And little by little, it started to become my own thing, and my own claircognizance started to get stronger, and my own abilities, right? So it's really interesting to see how you can see what that becomes, and you're doing it like case by case with each person that you work with.
Most definitely, most definitely. And I'm really curious to hear about Neil's modality, because from what I'd experienced online in our circle, it's, there's aspects of like, I can, see the power of Neil's, intention and that focus, which I'm sure will unravel, in this conversation. But it's incredible. I feel like I'm tapping into, I don't even know if it's a word for it, but, maybe like this psychic surgery. I'm very claircognizant, and I don't necessarily see visually like that clairvoyance, but all my other senses are just, really, really on, super alert. And I feel it in my body. My body will also start shaking a lot of the time, or I'll feel their stuff. Yeah, so...
And we'll talk a little bit, let's get into Neil's work a little bit as well. But before that, maybe you can tell me, while we're still with you, Robin, just a little bit about what our community, Awaken the Healer Within, has been able to do for your own brand building and your own practice.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing is it feels like coming home, because, as we're aware, there's, 6 of us here. It can be quite alienating. Not that that's really, I don't think affected me, but it's just like, oh, wow. I always get off the call, and the community is incredible. I always get off the call feeling clearer, even more confident. The doubt has completely gone. Any of that imposter syndrome, that doubt has completely gone. And I also, first of all, just want to say thank you for all of us. Your generosity, Frank, your ability to embody all of this ancient wisdom, your teaching style, there's so much information in there on business, which has just been incredible. There's so much, to be honest. It's probably more than I expected. Yeah, I just feel like it's like, wow, things are just really starting to blossom for me in a bigger way. So I'm excited, and I'm just taking my time and not feeling, the pressure of, just doing things in my own way, in my own time. So yeah, it's phenomenal. I'd totally recommend it for anyone who, even if they're kind of curious about, I think I can see things or do things, or I really want to help serve people in their own unique way. And the other thing I think is just the diversity of people in our skill set. That's been great too, because that's also how we learn about ourselves.
Yeah, it's so cool to see how many different people have even gone to, like, for example, have done work with you, Robin, but even with Neil, and have then taken Neil's course from learning about him through the community, and then like the free energy clearing he did for all of us. So it's a really incredible group of people. And it's funny, it's like what you say too about maybe somebody else here can resonate. Although everybody here, I think, had already the idea that they would be a practitioner in some way, and that they wanted to build that. But there are some people in the course, like Jerry, for example, or Olivia, who had no interest whatsoever. They just wanted, or MC, to be in a community of people where they can feel what you said every Sunday on the live calls. They just have that coming back to home feeling. But even them now are like, wait, I think I actually am going to pursue my healing career and my abilities, and now I feel like I can do it. So it's interesting that even the people who didn't think they were joining for that reason now are starting to do that.
Yeah,
it's really cool. So Neil, do you want to tell us a little bit about Shiva Merti and what that even is?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned in the intro, Shiva Merti is a Balinese modality. It was, there's a master teacher, Ratu Nabe, who's on my shirt. He developed it. He's the founder. He's a high priest in Bali. And he taught me and a small group of people, the first Americans ever to learn this, about 7 years ago. And I, quit my job, went to Bali, learned this modality, and fast forward, now I'm a teacher of the modality. I teach on Zoom, so I have students around the world. And then I also bring students who want to go on the retreat, well, it's more of a training with him, and I bring them to Bali. So I kind of do a combo. The healing work is obviously where a lot of my heart is. I mean, I'm a third generation teacher, so teaching is also where my heart is. So it's kind of like a perfect storm. But the healing for Shiva Merti, for people that have never heard of it, is it's an energy healing. It's basically infusing positive energy to heal the body and pull out the negative energy. It works on everything from cancer to the common cold. I also, what's interesting with what Robin was saying is that, yesterday and today I have clients who have like entity attachment stuff. And when I just wave my hand over them, they scream or they purge or they're, and I'm pulling out, and I can see things. So I'm like pulling out like a big snake or something, so I get everything, every kind of ailment I don't think there's anything I haven't worked on. And I've never found a modality that's faster or stronger. So I just have been sticking with it, and I'm a big advocate, obviously, of it as one of the pioneers.
Your own story too, Neil, with like your own journey healing from cancer using Shiva Merti?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I got diagnosed a few years ago with cancer, and I did what most people do, which is panic and go to a doctor. And I was going to the oncologist, and I was going to a dermatologist, because this kind of cancer shows up on the skin first and then goes into the bloodstream. And I was doing everything they were telling me to do, and I was getting worse and worse. And I finally got to a place of grounding myself and saying, okay, like, this isn't funny anymore. Like, something has to change. And I'm just like, I've staked my life on Shiva Merti. And I just said, this is what anyone that would come to me with cancer, I would say, oh, you've got to try Shiva Merti. It will help so much. And I'm like, why am I not doing it on myself? So I decided to stop all Western medicine and just focus on Shiva Merti. And what happened was the rash that was covering my body from the cancer disappeared in 8 days. And it had gotten worse and worse and worse for months. And then all of a sudden in 8 days, it was gone. So I took a before picture and an after picture with timestamps. And I just said, this is what Shiva Merti can do. And now I go to the I went to the oncologist about a month ago, and she told me, you know what, you don't even have to come here anymore. She's like, there's nothing I can do anymore. You walk in, you look fabulous. And that's it. So she's like, you could stop wasting your money. And that journey was a big aha moment of me, of like, it was putting the rubber to the road, but it was also like, oh, it's so typical in our culture, in the Western culture, to go to Western medicine as the first thing, and as putting all our hope and energy into that, when there are these alternatives. And if anyone knows about the alternative, it's me. And even I was like, didn't go there first. But now I obviously have learned a lot from that experience.
It's interesting too that, you work remotely, and a lot of people sometimes think, even with me, they'll ask like, can I do this remotely? And 90% of the people I work with, if not 95%, are remote. And, now, Robin, you're starting to do that with the spinal energetics as well. Do either of you want to talk about, maybe Neil, talk about how you see energy working remotely?
So I'm glad you brought this up because I get to ask that all the time. Like, like people are like, I could see how in person that could work, but how could you possibly use a photograph of me, a photograph from 10 years ago, and have a healing happen? Or how could you live on screen, whether FaceTime, Zoom, whatever? How are you able? And I said, energy is energy. This is quantum physics. I'm moving energy. I'm able to connect to energy and move it in a certain way. And that can be through a computer, a photograph, time travel, whatever you want to call it. Energy's energy. So it doesn't need to be a physical in-person experience.
And I think a lot of people learn through storytelling. So I would love to get some stories from you and from Robin, but Archana, I'm going to jump to you for a second too, because we've talked a lot about non-hands-on, but yours is very hands-on. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do with clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I offer is basically somatic facials, and it's not your conventional facial where it's just like all about the skin, but my business is actually called Skin and Soul. So I treat the skin and the soul as well. And they basically blend intuitive and sculpting facial massage techniques. I do like meditation and Reiki, and I blend all of that into it as well. And the main purpose of the facial is to get the client into a deeper state of mind and into more grounded state as well, where they can basically feel fully present into their body. Because I feel like most of us are so disconnected from our bodies, right? Like we're always constantly doing, and then we're not feeling enough. And so that's my main goal to do with the facial.
I have a friend who we actually met at one of my retreats, excuse me, who she does people's eyebrows in New York. But apparently, she said, because she's talking to them throughout the whole process, that sometimes she'll touch certain spots and they just start crying, like something was released. Or if she's focused on one spot, that she's tapping over and over and over. Do you ever experience anything like that where even through just a few,
oh gosh, yeah,
and so they're just having a full-on reaction? Tell me about that.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I've had so many like people who've had emotional releases, and like just even because like the type of massage I do is a little bit more deeper. It's sculpting, but it goes deeper into the fascia. So it's releasing a lot of trauma that's kind of built up into the fascia as well. And I've had so many clients who've had releases, and I remember one client in particular, she told me at the end of the facial, she was like, oh my God, I accessed one of my childhood memories that I had forgotten a long time ago. And it allowed her to remember that part of herself and how she felt and how she was, free and like, how she was happy. And that was just so beautiful to witness that. And I'm like, I feel like I'm not even doing anything. It's just like, I'm just holding that space for them, which is beautiful. Like I'm not physically trying to do anything. It's just I'm intentional about my massage and my facials, and I just go with the flow as well. I get into that flow state as well.
It's really a beautiful point, because a lot of times I'll tell people too that the healing happens when you're not trying to, because then you're taking your ego out of it and your mind out of it and just letting the healing happen.
Absolutely.
The body already knows what to do. And it's also interesting because the work that I do and like Paul does is finding trapped emotions or beliefs or whatever else that's stuck in the body and telling them where in the body it is. And so it's interesting too, because there are other ways to move that. Like, yes, I can pinpoint exactly what it is and get to it. But a lot of times people, when they're getting a massage or any kind of a physical touch, that trapped thing could end up getting dislodged that way as well.
And that's the thing. That's the beauty about it. It's like it's got its own intelligence. You don't have to try to focus on doing certain things. It's just literally just observe. You observe your emotions, you observe your body. It's just tapping into your body's wisdom, because it holds that wisdom, right?
Yeah. And I have to ask you, because you posted the most beautiful post the other day in our app, in our community app, when you were just feeling super grateful in the morning. Can you tell me a little bit about what you were feeling?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I woke up that morning and I was thinking about like the whole group and just how everything has unfolded into my life after I joined this course, and it's just been so beautiful. I feel like there's just like, even what Robin was saying, like I just feel like it's such a safe space where you can just be yourself without judgment. And I love, Frank, how you just teach us like all these different tools and techniques, and it's nice because there's so many tools and techniques, but you don't have to do all of them, which I love when you said that too, because you pick whatever resonates with you and practice that on a be consistent with it. And yeah, you can add that. That's another extra tool to add it into your toolbox. And even just like the business side of it, I know like I came mostly like I was like looking for more business side, but I felt like I've expanded more into my healing modalities and all of that too. And I mean, it's funny the story that I shared with you too, like how when I first joined your course, well, I'll tell the story to all of you guys. So, but I had basically a friend of mine who came in for a facial, and she's very intuitive. She gets messages. So she came in one day and she's like, hey, are you going to be joining a course soon? Like, I'm getting a message that you're going to join a course soon. And she said, like, your grandmother's coming in because my grandma passed away a few months ago. So she's like, your grandma's coming in and she's telling me you need to do that course. And I was like, no, I'm not doing any course. Like, I've done so many courses. I spent a lot of money. I'm like, I'm done with courses now. And then a month later, I found you on Instagram, and it was just one video with you in Sahara. And I don't know what, like, I didn't even know anything about you. I didn't follow you. I didn't know any of your background, but I just started following you, did your masterclass, and I didn't even watch the full masterclass. I just joined. And then I'm like, I don't know, it's just my intuition. You know, it's very spontaneous like that. So I just joined. And that's when I contacted you, Frank. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I made the right decision. Is this right for me? Like, obviously your mind starts to play games and they're like, oh, is this the right thing? So then after talking to you, like, I knew this was the right thing to do. And then when I told my friend about it, I'm like, well, hey, by the way, I joined this class. And she's like, that's the class, you know. But we were just laughing because I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot about it. And had I not joined this class, like, so many things have unfolded, like I said, from this class. And I feel like because of this course, it's really expanded me in so many different ways. It's brought me confidence. It's just brought me so much joy and happiness, and just connecting with everyone and seeing everyone growing their own business, and, you know, seeing all of the growth that's happening in the community is just so beautiful.
Thank you for saying all that. Isn't it so beautiful to also see like the support within our group on social media and in the app? Like, it's just such a supportive community.
Absolutely supportive. And I think also just even seeing everybody's different perspective as well. Like, you know, like Robin does something different, Neil does something different, Victoria, like everyone's doing something different. And I think it just allows you to kind of see, okay, this is possible. Like, I can maybe expand. I can do something like this, or, you know, and yeah, it's just so beautiful.
And
so thank you for
here is such like a strong voice in the community. So Paul, I know you've been really open about sharing with your experiences and throughout the whole course. So tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So first, I met Frank at a retreat about 3 years ago, and he was asking for volunteers to come up, and I didn't know what he was doing. He was doing something with his fingers, and I was watching people crying as they're leaving, one after another. There was someone from the military that was up there. There was a woman who had restless leg syndrome, and he literally cured her right there. So then I went up, and at that time I had a headache for like a week, and it wasn't going away. And he cleared some things from me and my father. And I was like, wait, what the heck just happened? Because look, I've got a background. I'm a pilot and an engineer. And I flew a medevac helicopter for 10 years. I saw trauma. I was pre-hospital medicine. And so I was a very logical person, but I also had a very spiritual side to me. And when I saw the modality that Frank did, I realized that anything's possible. Anything's possible if you set your mind to it. So my mother got very sick about 1.5 years ago, and none of the doctors were able to help her. So I think I was in London at the time on a trip. I fly a jet now full time, but I was in London, and I said, I got to do something. So I took the course, and I started doing some practice on, you know, as part of the certification, we have to do practice sessions, and I'm doing them on people, and they're getting healed. I'm thinking, now this is a coincidence, and I'm doing more, and they're getting healed. And all these things are happening. I'm thinking this can't be happening. So I went to the next level, and I started to do even more. People were getting healed from things that had everything imaginable. And I became a believer. And then when I realized that anything is possible, but one thing I realized with all the trauma that I've seen in my life is your body keeps the score while your mind moves on. And understanding it isn't release. And you can't heal in the same state that hurt you. The nervous system has to shift first. And release does not require reliving it. I'm going to repeat that. This is really important. With all the modalities here, releasing trapped emotions, imbalances does not require you to relive it. The body can let go without replaying the tape. So reflecting back on the group that Frank put together, if I got 1/5 of what he promised, it would have been a great deal. It would have been amazing. But he said something to us, Frank said something to us early on. He said, go into it without even knowing why you're going into it. And that's to say that something else is guiding you. Something's guiding you. You don't even know where it's coming from. It's not your rational mind. And as everybody has stated here, we have grown in ways that we didn't even imagine were possible. Frank kind of took us from the inside and worked out, as opposed to the outside and working in. And he made us see our beauty. He made us feel not only the love for others, but the love for ourselves. And he really gave us a good springboard to be able to amplify our gifts and be able to help others.
Wow, Paul, I don't even know where to start. Thank you. Oh my God, so good. You know what's really interesting about what you said too is that you started to work on people, and you left one little thing out that I want to point out is that you then also started to, outside of that modality, started to maybe partially part of your own engineering background, but you started to knowing what was ailing people, what part of their body, right? It became sort of like medical mediumship.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I'm fascinated with the human body, and I do a lot of writing on things from methylation to different things. And when I do a session, it's probably a little unique for me because of my passion for the human body and psychology, sociology, human behavior. And I really start to understand how things are connected. And I think Frank also has a wonderful intuition. He just knows where to go. You start developing that. You start understanding that, okay, this could be this, and it could also be a trapped emotion. And you don't get too tied to one thing, but you just kind of let it come to you. And usually the message comes pretty clear.
Yeah, and then even teaching people how to muscle test is one of the modules in the course too. And it's so helpful for people. Like I remember one of the enrollees, Ethan, was saying how he just feels so much more powerful now because when he needs an answer to a question, he'll just muscle test it and get it for himself, rather than relying on a pendulum or on his logical mind. And so it really is an empowering thing. And there was something that you said that I think is so important for people to understand. I think you might have even repeated it twice, where you don't need to analyze it afterwards, right? So I send everybody a full recap after a session, but I always tell them, like, don't worry about like going back and looking at it. You can once or twice out of curiosity, but then just let it go. It's clear, it's already gone. You don't have to dwell on what was cleared when you were 8, that's affecting you at age 38 now. And actually one of my clients yesterday in Australia for the first time was like, you know what, don't even send me the recap. She's like, I'm finally at a place now where I get it. Like, we don't need it. I don't need the recap. So I didn't send it to her. And that was the first time anybody ever said that. I was like, are you sure? You might like change your mind later. She's like, no, I don't want it. It's gone.
It's about trust. It's about trust.
Yeah, totally. So thank you for sharing that. And Victoria, last but definitely not least, so tell us a little bit about the sound modalities that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you for having us. And I'm just so honored to be amongst these very mighty healers. So the work that I do, I like to consider myself your self-love bestie. I work with high-achieving women who are either burnt out or on the verge of burnout, though I have also worked with a lot of men as well. My main modality is sound healing. I do also do art therapy and some visioning work to get you clarity on just the different areas of your life and what vision you really have for it versus just kind of taking aimless action. But sound is a very powerful modality. My first experience with it was a very powerful release. I cried and it was a very somatic practice. And since then, over the last couple of years, I've incorporated it more into my own healing. And I've been on a healing journey for over 15 years and have tried various modalities. I've done traditional talk therapy. I've done an array of different things. And I think we might go through seasons of different modalities in our lives, different things that we need. But I think definitely some of the most powerful are the energy healing and the somatic practices. So sound is really beautiful because, we call sound baths because you're being bathed by the frequencies of sound. And it's a practice that's as old as humanity, right? And even just our voices are our most powerful instrument that can heal us. And so I work with crystal alchemy bowls and frosted crystal bowls, which are the newer iterations of what many people might have seen, the metal Tibetan singing bowls. And they're instruments, right? So they're tuned to different notes, just like the notes on a piano, but they also have different intentions and frequencies. So for instance, the set that I have, they're tuned to 432 hertz. So what does that mean? That everything is vibrating, everything is energy, right? We are, our cat's purr is at a certain, frequency and energy, the plants outside. So 432 is just the sort of the standard that you would find out in nature, out in the world. And so it's very grounding and very centering. And so it allows people that opportunity when they experience sound healing to really ground, to really center, to relax their nervous system, to let stress, overwhelm, anxiety, all of these things just kind of melt away. And it really takes you to a very deep meditative place that's really beautiful. And it's changing the state of your brain waves. And so it's taking you down into that REM and very low frequencies, brainwave states, which is very, very relaxing. And so I had a client say recently, wow, that was the shortest hour of my life. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. It's because if you've ever, taken a nap or just meditated, it feels like a few minutes, but really, an entire hour has gone by. And so it's just a really powerful modality to release energy, stagnant energy that's pent up, to let go of emotions, to let go of traumas and move those through your body. So it's a really beautiful, powerful, ancient modality. And it's also, the intention that you set with it. And I love it.
And what's the difference between, for anybody watching, like just watching, or going on, because now it's so accessible, getting on like Spotify or YouTube and playing it versus being in the room with a practitioner?
Sure. Yeah. And, for me, I even put on sound baths sometimes on YouTube or, just to have as kind of background. Though I will say my mentor and the program that I went through for my very comprehensive training is really who I go to for listening to recorded tracks or her membership portal. But there's something really special about attending a sound bath in person or even a virtual event, but it's like specific because you're stepping into a container, you're stepping into a space where this person, such as myself, right, is creating an environment that is conducive to whatever intention we've set. And so a lot of times it's very basic. It's my sound baths I usually call just rest and recalibrate. Very simple. Just about anybody can understand rest and recalibrate. Like, oh, that sounds really good. That sounds like exactly what I need. So stepping into that space where I have set, a safe environment with releasing any distractions, any outside noise, literally and physically and emotionally, and creating that container to really let go, lie down for an hour, and to have me walk you through a guided meditation, some breath work, relax your nervous system, and then enjoy those sound frequencies in person. It's just very powerful. So again, you can do it virtually, but in person, there's just something about that space. And whether someone comes in for a one-on-one session with me and it's very customized and we can really talk about where they're at and how they're feeling at the moment and what's coming up for them, or maybe they have a physical, body ache somewhere.
or whether it's in a group sound bath, and just that collective energy of people coming together, wanting to release, to rest, to even have community, right? Because people are having this powerful experience together, and there's something really beautiful and amplifying in that way as well.
Can I add something to that, Victoria?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that, I'm a musician, and it's the same as like, a recording of a song or watching it on TV versus being in the room with the musicians playing. There's a huge, huge, huge difference. The vibration alone and the energy that's there in that room is like a big part of it too. So that's what I think of with sound baths, like being in a sound bath, being in a room while someone's playing those crystal bowls versus hearing it on Spotify is like a huge difference. Not that Spotify doesn't kind of hit the target a little, but it does feel like the vibration and the energy that's live is like palpable.
Absolutely, Neil.
It's
Thank
so
you so
true
much
with
for adding that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And people
Yeah, I was
have
gonna say also
different
with-
like
it's-
headphones or different things that they listen with.
Yeah.
So it is different than, or how good of a quality is your laptop, is your phone, is your speaker, whatever it is. So definitely, thank you for adding that.
Especially if it's like a gong, those like gongs and stuff. It's like when you're laying there and you feel the vibration wash over you, it's just so different. Robin, were you going to say something as well?
Yeah, sound, love it. I completely relate to that. I've got a few sound healer friends, Victoria. I was just also going to mention, like in spinal energetics, sound is a huge part, unlike some of the other modalities that we can see online. And whilst I don't have a live Victoria in my room or an orchestra, I've experienced it. Spinal energetics in big group sessions with live musicians, which is phenomenal. But what I do with my one-on-one clients is I use the sound very intentionally and sometimes to actually trigger people's nervous system for a reason, so that we can start to create more bandwidth. So it's not always that relaxing, deep, calming experience. And, even Frank, when you're talking about online work, like the sound then starts to become really big, obviously, and with the intention and the focus and that knowing of the body. But the sound, as we know, can just unravel people or help them feel more expanded. But yeah, it's our primal, it's that primal sense, I suppose, from way back. Ancient, deep.
Yeah. Paul, go ahead.
Something that's interesting, Neil, like you, I'm also a musician, and there's something about sound that you can't quantify. It's not a left brain thing. There's something, it does something to your soul. But listening to everybody here, and I just love the groups when we meet. Everybody has a different modality, and I believe that our clients are going to connect to different types of vibration, different types of, they're going to resonate with something. So it could be that perhaps someone will get really good results with Neil, better than anybody else, or possibly with Robin or Victoria. And I think the beauty is that we have a way of connecting with people as well. And we can resonate at their frequency, or we may not. So I also encourage people, if one modality doesn't work, try a different one, because ultimately, you're the one that's going to heal. We just kind of help it along a little bit, but you're the one doing the healing. We're helping your body to heal.
What's really great about you saying that? It's actually Neil, somebody in our course I was messaging with earlier today, and she was saying how the first time she did a session with Neil, she was like, I didn't feel it. I didn't really feel much. She's like, I think something happened, but I don't really know. And then she said, but the second time when he was doing a free workshop, on social media for everybody, whoever wanted to join, she said, I went into it this time being like, okay, take your mind fully out of it. Don't hold on to any expectations or what you should feel or not feel, and just let it happen. And she said, and in that one, it was like completely different. She said, I felt everything he was doing. So how much of it do you think Neil is part of the participant as well, whether like give it a few times before you fully decide, or also, go into it a certain way? Does that make a difference?
I think a lot of my students who are healers, I often, when I'm watching them do healing, they'll say, and open your mind and relax your body into it and stuff. And I'm kind of like, my experience is different than that. I don't know the rhyme or reason behind it, but I know I've had people. I once did a free thing. I used to travel around the country doing the free events. And I had this guy in Tampa, Florida, who had his arms crossed, and he walked up to my table and he said, listen, I'm just out of rehab. I can't take medication. I'm in a lot of pain in my back. My girlfriend dragged me here. I think this is a bunch of blank, blank, and he's like, but have at it. And I was just like, okay, calm down, queen. We got this. You don't got to come at me like that. But he was so like, this is so not going to work. And I have it on camera, within minutes, his back pain was gone and he was crying that I can't believe that. And he's like, I need a little Neil in my house and on a shelf. And I'm just like, I'm not elf on a shelf. But, he was so against it and it still penetrated. So I don't know what that's about. People usually ask me, do you have to be open to it? And I always use him as an example because if anyone was ever a brick wall, it was him. And so I don't know. And then with multiple sessions, it's interesting that you bring that up because every person that I work on, even if they have the same issue, if I have 3 people with backaches and I work on them 1, 2, 3, I'm getting 3 different results. And I don't know why. It's just is. And so some people will need 3 sessions. Some people will need 1. Someone will need 5. But I'm not sure why it hits different each time. Not to quote Taylor Swift again, but, I don't know why it hits different.
Archana, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of tie into what you're all saying is that what I've really kind of, one of the key takeaways that I've kind of taken from all of this is that healing doesn't happen when you force it, but when you actually feel safe enough in your body. So whenever you slow down and you listen to your body and you're releasing what it's holding, that's when true healing happens. And I think what Paul is saying, that sometimes you resonate with different healers or different people, it's because your body feels safe around them. So I think just kind of listen to your intuition and okay, this person I feel more comfortable, so I'm going to go to him or her. I think just kind of doing that and just allow the healing to happen and not forcing it.
I'm even just looking at everybody here and thinking what a perfect self-care day this would look like. You go to Robin, you get your adjustments. You go to Victoria and relax in a sound bath. Neil and Paul for energy healing, and then Archana for that final, somatic facial as well, which I'm definitely feeling like I need right now. Robin, go ahead.
Yeah, that sounds good, Frank.
It's like the perfect self-care day. I wish we were all in one place.
Totally. Well, we have to meet. In the flesh.
Awaken the Healer Retreat would be amazing.
Yeah. I was just going to say, just based on, how this conversation's unfolding, it's timing, right? Timing is everything. And it really resonates with what Paul said as well. And I have a huge fascination with the body for decades too. And it's that layering in often, so it might be a session with Paul, it might be a session, with Victoria, I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. It's like, oh, that didn't work, or that didn't work. And, coming back to what Neil shared, my experience is some people are so disconnected from their body or their whole being that their senses are just not picking up anything, like, oh, that didn't work. So, one of my mottos is listen to the body. It's smarter than you, right? It's smarter than our mind. And, so for me, what I do is try and encourage and gently help that person feel safe enough just to drop just a little bit to there's just that little that little invitation. And also just following on from Neil's comment, like those people that are really blocked or, this isn't going to work, and their mind is like, no, we're playing in the field, right? energy is energy, and something has to shift. We don't know what that looks like. Our mind, our ego doesn't know what that looks like, but it's that trust, right? It's energy. This person's energy, everything's energy, the table's energy. Something has to shift. And that's a concept that, I think people don't understand until they really start to feel that embodiment.
I love that, Robin. I just love that. An interesting story about what you had mentioned about we've all mentioned about letting go. I was trying to do the muscle testing modality for about a year and nothing was working. It kept on basically not, it was my ego or my conscious that was really doing the muscle testing. And one morning, a little past 4 a.m, I woke up and I heard a voice inside me that said, try it now. I said, what? I was like, and I thought, okay, it must be. So I was like, yes, no, yes. And then all of a sudden it just started. But something that Neil mentioned earlier, which I think is really important, and I think, Robin, you mentioned it as well. I can't tell you how many clients I've had where it doesn't seem like the first session anything happened. And that's an interesting thing because we're all peeling layers of the onion. That's what we're doing. And when your conscious actually realizes it, may be completely different from when things actually start happening. Things start happening right away. I promise you, they're happening. Some people might need 1 or 2 sessions. Some people might need 10 sessions. Some people might need 20 sessions. But the reality is your subconscious knows it has genius in it, what needs to be removed first and in what order. And we trust that process and we let it go and we just go with it. And we stop thinking and we start feeling. And that's really where the magic is with all our modalities here.
Yeah, it really is all the modalities here. And it's so important that even before every session, part of my going into it, my intention setting is that I always say to myself, I don't interfere with fate. What stays, stays. What releases, releases, and it's just always so fun for me to go into the session being like, okay, let's see what happens. I'm excited to see, you have a specific intention that you brought and I have one that I brought, but let's see what happens. Sometimes people are so fixated on this one thing that they're sure is the cause of everything. But I'm looking over here. I'm like, no, this is actually what's causing this and everything else. So we need to clear this over here. Something that you completely thought, I forgot who it was earlier who said, you might have logically forgotten about it or let it go, but your body is still remembering that, right? And there is that famous book, The Body Keeps the Score, which explains that too. I haven't read it, but my clients always tell me about it.
And one other thing, which is to me, I think most of us, if not all of us, have almost been in a role where we've been trying to help people our whole lives. There's such a sense of gratitude when I finish a session that, wow, thank you for allowing me to be able to serve you and help you. It's an honor to be able to help people and to have the gifts that we've been able to develop to help people. It truly is an honor. And it's something that there's nothing greater than being able to make someone feel better, help them realize their potential, and help them reduce suffering. It's just an honor to be able to do that for people.
One of the things I have people say at the end of a session is, as I am healed, I am not healed alone. And it's because of what you're describing is like, even the person doing the healing, I always feel like I'm getting a healing session after each one, even if it's draining. Like I feel like, okay, something just healed from the collective, right? And everybody's nodding because I think everybody feels that too. As I am healed, I am not healed alone.
Perfect follow to Paul's point when he was talking about sometimes, how many sessions you might need or whether or not you see results after the first session. I have a client who is like a perfect example of this, where he came in for his very first sound bath, like ever in his life. He was the one that said that was the shortest hour of my life, right? So he did have sort of that initial just kind of relaxation, kind of like almost fell asleep, got into a meditative state. But then the beautiful thing was he came back the next time, which I think was just a week later. And he's like, you won't believe this. Like 2 nights after the sound bath, my whole body was just like tingling and I couldn't fall asleep. And so we were talking about all of this. And I was like, okay, well, obviously like energy is stagnant energy is moving and something was happening, which is what I always tell people in their aftercare instructions, just be gentle with yourself for the next 12 to 48 hours. Things might come up. And we don't always know what that might look or feel like or sound like even. And so he had this basically all-nighter where his body just didn't let him sleep. He was just tingling, and he said he wasn't in any kind of discomfort or any kind of pain, but it was a very rare, unusual experience. So then we're like, okay, so he's here for this next sound bath. We do that sound bath. At the end of that sound bath, he breaks down and breaks through and cries for the first time in 20 years. The energy, the sound was working its magic. It was doing its thing, but it was layering and it was kind of taking the time. And since then, we've done a few sessions together, and he's gotten his creative flow back in his job. He's able to do his free writing, creative writing that he had blocks with. And so, can we say that he did or didn't have some sort of powerful experience the very first session? Absolutely, he did. But there was things that happened in the moment in that 1 hour, and then things that were happening the hours afterwards. And it was just compounding, right? And he broke down to break through, and now so many beautiful things are unfolding from it. So I just wanted to add that example to Paul's point and Robin's point exactly. So it's a process, and just trusting it. And sometimes it's not really in the moment, though I think from most people will experience from sound baths, just that kind of general I feel like I, took a nap and I feel really good. But there's more that's happening underneath. So just trusting that.
That's beautiful. And I even think of how sound itself, it reverberates, right? And so it's kind of doing the same thing in us. It's like a slow unfolding reverberation as that sound is moving through. Yeah, really nice. Neil, did you want to go ahead now?
Yeah. So one of the things that came up and for me that I wanted to piggyback on with what Robin and Paul and Victoria had said is about Robin said it really well, of how people aren't always connected to their bodies. So they don't realize when something's shifted or changed. And a lot of times, just like when you get a headache, and if you take some Tylenol and this headache, and then the headache disappears and you forget you even had a headache and it doesn't feel like anything happened. That's been a thing too, where people, I'll say how I always check in with people the next day and I say, how are you feeling? And they're like, oh, my knee still hurts. It didn't work. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe you need another session, but what pain level are you right now? And they'll be like, oh, it's at a 6. And I'm like, oh, but you were at an 8. And they're like, yeah, but it still hurts, so it didn't work. And I said, oh, well, how did you sleep last night? And they'll be like, oh, I slept like a baby. I'm like, didn't you tell me you only sleep 3 hours a night? And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. One of my biggest obstacles is that, Shiva Merti is new. People haven't heard of it. And when they see videos of it or hear testimonials, and it's a referral kind of thing. So when their friend tells them, they're like, oh my God, you have to see this guy, Neil. He does this Shiva Merti thing. It's so incredible. People are expecting these miracles all the time. And to them, a miracle is this huge, the C parts kind of thing. And because their friend might have had something like that happen where they've had a chronic condition disappear in minutes. But what people don't understand is that we have to manage our expectations around all of it, and that what our body is ready to heal is different maybe than what your friend had to heal, or there's so many different factors of why the healing is different than, like I said, if I have 3 people with back pain, it's going to be 3 different results. I'm the same person. I'm doing the same thing on each person, but it's it's not the healer, and it's not the modality that's working or not working. It's the energy and the other stuff, including karma, including soul contracts, including all this other stuff that we're don't have access to all the time.
I mean, that was so well said, right? I mean, I can tell that Paul and Robin really understand that too, because it's like we could probably tell you the same thing with our own things, where I've had people they have this miraculous, spontaneous healing, and then they want their spouse to do it. But the spouse is like, I don't want to do this. Like, why are you making me do this thing I don't want to do? And so they're already going into it sort of with that. And it works. Like you said earlier with the guy with his hands crossed, like it still works and they have amazing results. And I can see them halfway through the session being like, oh my God, and being all in, where they just completely dropped everything because they see what's happening. But it is still a really interesting thing because some people, I can tell from the first session, like, oh, they're so clear. They're going to, in one session, be clear, or 2 sessions. And then others, I can tell I'm scratching the surface and I'm like, this person's going to need like 6 sessions before they start to feel things even, because they've, over the years, stopped having the ability to feel and connect with themselves anymore. It's really interesting. Yeah, Robin?
One of the things that I've really learned in the last few years is building that scaffolding in people. And I think this has also come up in our call just recently, our group call, what the ego mind of us, wanting to do so much, right? But it's not us, as we know. And, when we're working in that field, like the emotional body is the closest to the physical body, right? And the layers just get I guess, and at a higher vibration. I don't even have words for it. So one of the things that I will tap into is the layer. Like, is this the mental patterning? Is it the story? Is it a spiritual thing? Are people being projected onto all the time? And vice versa. Is it a soul path? And then, only when that person's ready and literally has embodied the scaffolding, and again, I don't have any other words for it, to then move into ancestral stuff, because, it's a big responsibility as well, right? And, we can just as much unravel or tweak some things that person just hasn't got the embodiment to be able to process themselves. And, I think that's a really important point for anybody when they are reaching out to have some help, to make sure that you've either been highly recommended, what are your expectations, your own personal expectations, and patience. As I said, timing is everything, and trusting the process of your unique soul, which many people are so disconnected from.
Do you feel, Archana, I'm wondering too, is like that disconnect that we're talking about, do people when they're in the chair with you finally feel, especially not because you're not just doing facials, but it's a somatic experience. So does that help people feel into their body and the sensations again?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like when I first started doing facials, like before I introduced like the energy aspect to it, even like I would get clients who were just very like disconnected, very flustered, and they're just like so like stressed with work, or they're like, a lot of them were mothers as well. Like I get a lot of moms coming in and just so many responsibilities, right? So I think just like lying on the bed for like an hour and a half is just, even just that aspect was like relaxing for them. So yeah, so the somatic part is like you said, releasing. And as I'm like doing the massage, I think that also releases a lot of tension and the stored traumas and emotions as well. So, and sometimes like clients don't even realize it. Like they're like, well, I don't know why I'm crying. Or they like, a lot of times it's like they have this release and they're like, I don't know what's happening, but it's accessing some old emotions and old traumas that's kind of stored. And yeah, it's honestly, it's like, it's such an honor to witness that. And when I do my facials, I'm very intentional and I'm very present with them. And I think, yeah, a lot of clients are like, they don't realize, like they almost feel like ashamed to cry almost. I'm like, oh, why am I crying? But I'm like, no, it's good to cry, like it's like good for your nervous system. Your nervous system wants you to cry, like it wants you to release, because it's almost like it's finishing, the body is kind of like finishing that process of like closing that loop basically. So yeah, like I always recommend that, and like don't feel ashamed, because like I want, like every time a client cries, I'm like, yes, okay, that's good for me, like I've done something good.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what Robin said earlier too, is like the more safe they feel, that's kind of, as a healer, you feel like, okay, goal accomplished, right? That they feel this safe and comfortable and
absolutely
right now. Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing to see. I'm obviously going to share everybody's social media below so they can see what you do And I feel like we only scratched the surface. Like when Robin was speaking too, I'm like, there's so much more that you're knowledgeable about. And so I would love for everybody to know your social media. So I'll make sure to put that in the show notes. But even, like Neil is starting a new podcast, Robin's starting a new podcast. So there's a lot of new avenues for people to see what you're doing. Does anybody want to share anything before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just one quick thing. One of the things that I think we've all found with healing is, and I think Robin touched on this, actually she spoke about this quite a bit, if your body is not relaxed and you're in a fight or flight mode, it's going to really be difficult to heal. Most people today are walking around living in this low grade we call a sympathetic activation 24/7 because their nervous system learned something along the way that it wasn't safe to relax. And one of our goals is to first try to reduce that level, the cortisol, the stress that you're feeling, because you're not going to heal as effectively or even at all until you are ready to heal. So they come to us, and sometimes we have to just peel the layers of the onion and first get their sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, the big tiger that's chasing them. We got to push it away so they can actually get in a safe place to heal.
What I like about that analogy is that, I think a lot about functional medicine doctors rather than a traditional one. And they're still using medication just like a traditional doctor would, but they're only doing it in the beginning to just get your body into a less inflamed place. And they're like, okay, now let's get to the source of your issues while you're on this medication that's stabilizing you. But they're not ignoring the root cause, right? So it's almost like, okay, get your parasympathetic and everything relaxed, and then from here we can start to heal you and get you to an optimized place. But first, it's just like, let's get you to a balanced place, Anybody else? Final thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a final thought. It's been kind of ruminating this whole time is I've been thinking about my origin story to the Awakened Healer and how that all kind of came to play. And it was me saying to the universe at first, it was just, I need help with my business. I've never taken a business class. I'm running a business. This wasn't the path I thought I was going to take. I need help. And then I was on Instagram and your ad came up and it said, turn your healing business into a 6-figure. I'm like, bingo. And so I just kind of took that chance. And I also, teach manifestation to some of my students. And I was like, yeah, when the door opens, you say yes and walk through it, whether you know what's on the other side or not. The whole part of it being a journey is you don't know what's on the other side. So you just walk through and you say yes to the opportunity. So I did, and then I ran into you at the gym the next day, and I didn't even know you lived in LA, and I was like, okay, this is a signpost. This is the universe saying you made the right decision. And at first, my reasons for doing this was, I wouldn't call it selfish. I would just call it was to grow a business. It wasn't anything else. And what I came to is that, as Paul pointed out, you had said, you might not know why you're here, but you're here. It did turn into something else for me. It did turn into community. And I love the people on this screen so much. And we're the OGs. And it's just so, and that's why, I offered that healing to everyone in class that day, because I wanted to give something back to these wonderful healers that are doing so much, like Paul said, for other people. It's most of us have spent our whole lives wanting to give and help people. And that also turned into, how do I take that community feel and bring it into my community, which is the Shiva Merti community? And that organically just happened because, as I think about 6 people from our class then took my class and became part of my community. And then it became okay, well, now I really have to find out how to do this business thing, because I have to show people how to, I have to help my students and I have to keep the flow. So I feel like community was the overriding thing that I've learned more of and got to grow and expand outside of my bubble of my business, but just in with the Awakened Healer. And I'm very grateful to you, Frank, for starting all this. And I'm grateful for the other 4 people here who I see their smiling faces on, on Sundays, but we also see each other on Instagram and everything. It's just like, I'm a cheerleader. Like, I love you guys. I love seeing what you're doing. And I think this has been a fabulous experience that I didn't know I was going to have.
Wow, Neil, thank you for that. Yeah, and it's so beautiful too to hear other people have echoed what you say. Like when somebody signs up new to the course or to Awaken the Healer community, I'll get a message from them saying, wow, everybody's so welcoming. Everybody immediately sent me a message, about them or about what they're doing. So it's really cool to see that you guys are also making it what it is. So that's really beautiful too. And then Victoria, I'll let you go next.
Thank you. I wanted to share 2 things. One is a message to the people that don't identify as healers. Maybe they do other things for work. And then the second piece is to the healers. So first off, to the people that, you might not consider yourself a healer, one of the things that I loved about, or I continue to love, and just the title of our course in our community, Awaken the Healer Within, it reminded me that we all are healers. We all have that within ourselves. And so to just give you this message of empowerment that, you are your most powerful healer, and we can show you more modalities, and we are practitioners, and but what feels right within your body, within your system, in different practices. And so just tapping into that, and to know that it starts with you. So I just wanted to say that piece, first of all, that any one of us can tap into the healer within us. And then the second piece, to those that are, practitioners of different modalities, or healers, if we consider ourselves that, I really, really invite you to consider, joining us at Awaken the Healer Within, because I always say, it has been a gift that keeps on giving. And what I initially signed up for, which was very much, I think, business focused, has unfolded to be so many other things. Clearings with Frank, the community, the friendships, tapping into different healing modalities, growing myself as a healer, as an entrepreneur, having opportunities to be on a podcast, like just so many things that I had no idea were in store for me. The master classes that we have, the modules, all of these things, they've just been such a blessing. And I'm constantly learning from Frank, and I'm constantly learning from literally everybody. And then I'm tapping into parts of myself that I didn't even know that were there or existed or were going to come out. And this journey from June to December now has been an amazing one, and I'm just so grateful. So come and join us. And if the gift that keeps on giving sounds really good, it sounds perfect right now during the holidays, even though I'm not sure when this podcast will be released, but just give this gift to yourself and join us, and we will welcome you with open arms and open hearts. And thank you so much to Frank and for my comrades, my colleagues here, and thank you.
It's incredible that our community is so beautiful and big, and there's so many different stories and modalities, that this is literally just me talking to 5 people from the course, and already you can see just the power in it. So I would love to see it grow and see more people join us. And I continue to learn from each one of you as well. So thank you. And so a reminder to everybody listening as well, for any of these amazing practitioners, if you'd like to learn more about what they're doing, what you want to hear from somebody who you go to as a practitioner is that I'm not fixing you. You're not broken. This is just spiritual nutrition. And so that if you get to work with somebody who's in this community, you're getting a really good practitioner. So I'll make sure to link all of that below. So go find Robin, Victoria, Neil, Archana, Paul, and the community. And thank you everybody for joining.
Ever since I wrote my goals down with the pen, my dreams and reality have both been blending in. I just hope that in the end, my debt don't extend me all my dividends if it did.